think I had taking the first question. In your presentation, your biggest investment is in the wastewater network. Okay. So I would like to, normally the wastewater network, you collect the flow through gravity flow, through a gravity sewer system, and it goes to the pump station. You have the sewer transmission system, and it goes to the wastewater treatment plant. Can you elaborate a little bit more? What are the improvement that you are proposing in that wastewater network?
Yes, according to the information that we have been able to find, there are two wastewater treatment plants that are the Maria del Carmen wastewater treatment plant and the El Pitire wastewater treatment plant. The Maria del Carmen wastewater treatment plant is already built, and according to our estimation, it has enough capacity to gather the extra wastewater that will come from these extra neighborhoods and these new connections, because it's operating under its capacity that is mainly because of problems of supplies, or there are different problems. And in the case of El Pitire, it also has enough capacity, and the thing that is necessary to fix a pump station, that is the San Pedro pump station, that it's allowed to pump the water from the Almendares basin to the next basin, that is where the El Pitire wastewater treatment plant. And this is also considered in this fixing of the pump station. It's also considered in the economic analysis.
How about the wastewater treatment plants?
They are working, both of them.
They are working fine? You're not recommending any improvement into the treatment, or?
About the El Pitire wastewater treatment plant, there was not too much information, just the capacity mainly. And about Maria del Carmen, there was a bit more information, and it's possible to accept all the new wastewater network, all the wastewater.
And also, in order to keep it a little cheaper too, we went with this method rather than improving the treatment methods, because treatment methods could be very costly too to add to a wastewater treatment plant.
Congratulations on a good presentation. I like the fact that you took into account the economics of Cuba and try to bring the cost down as low as possible, and limit your choices on that basis. A question on the phytoremediation. Is that something that the plants that you use get saturated at some point and they need to be replaced? If so, how often does that need to be done, et cetera, and how much of a labor intensive or whatever is it? How much is involved in that process?
Yeah, so basically it just depends on how fast the plant grows, and it's basically pruning the plant to keep it successful. So it's not too labor intensive, but you do need someone there throughout the advantage to Cuba is that growing seasons all year long. It's got a great climate, there's no winter. So you would just need someone there all year to maintain the plants and to keep them pruned in order to keep them growing.
But you don't have to physically replace the plants. It's just a question of trimming them, or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you would have to replace them if they were like perennials, or if there was a winter season, but there's not in Cuba. So that's a good advantage.
Okay. This is a question out of ignorance as to what's going on in Cuba nowadays, but does the government have any formal controls on all the sources of pollution going into the Almendares River at this point?
I do not believe so. I think there's a lot of discharge straight into the river without any treatment.
And would there be any, in your estimation, since at least you looked at some of these smelters or whatever else it might be out there that causing the pollution, would it be another source of reducing the pollution here at reasonable cost? I don't know what the cost of remediation, well, not a remediation, but prevention are on those sources.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Like if there's another prevention method
It's more economically feasible to treat at the source, and by imposing pollution controls on it, as opposed to doing this on an after-the-fact basis.
Right. Well, the only possible way is to run it through a wastewater network in order to get to precipitate the heavy metals out of the wastewater. So there isn't too much of a cheaper option. I don't believe so. Yeah.
Can you go back to the economic analysis? So you're saying, what's the currency that you're using here?
We are using dollars, American dollars.
American dollars.
Yes.
And you're saying that you're going to charge Cuban people American dollars.
Yes, this is an estimation. What we were thinking is like in Europe, you pay by taxes to the state, collect the state collect the taxes, and then pays to the private company that execute the operation. So I don't know if the Cuban government will like to use these amortization rates or pay more or pay less, but this will be something to talk between the government and the companies.
I think that in general it's a good analysis. What I don't like is the final approach of annual cost per home, so per person. First, you cannot compare Spain with Cuba because the model is totally different. Do you know the median salary of a Cuban in dollars?
Yes, we estimated it from different articles. For example, for a worker, is around $0.50 per hour.
$25 a month.
Yes.
And you want to charge them $5. But anyways, that's just a final approach on charging people that you need to think about where you want to implement. And second, Cubans don't pay taxes.
Of course.
So you're bringing an approach that doesn't work. The only one paying taxes are the foreign companies and the private businesses, like small businesses like Cuban are able to launch. But there is no tax system for every Cuban. So the approach should be like, as a government, what will be the investment, how to work with an investor, a company, to make this happen. But as it works right now, it's for the government, not for the Cuban people. You understand?
Understand. Also, this was made as a kind of comparison to know if this project has a low economic impact or great economic impact. So the rate dollars per home and year, we thought it was interesting to compare to other solutions.
The analysis is great. What I'm telling you is
Yes.
I didn't like what you used as
The concept.
The comparison with people, and more as a country or as a city, you need an investment. Don't pass that cost to the people. You understand?
I understand. Thanks.
I like all the work you did. What I read, you did a lot of work there. It's very interesting. I have a question regarding the hydroponics. Hydroponics is the way of growing plants using water with a special treatment that has all the nutrients there. However, when you put it in a river, heavy metals will just sink. So unfortunately, I mean, the solution would be not to pollute the river to begin with. But I'm not so sure that putting plants will take care of more than surface water. And we're talking about heavy metals dumped by industrial complexes. Those will sink almost immediately. So by the time that it gets there, I'm not so sure that that would be a good solution. I mean, it's nice, but I don't know if it'd be practical because of the heaviness of the metals.
Yeah, so giant duckweed does have a fairly fast equilibrium time where it does take up, and it is about 20 minutes, so you would hope that effluent coming out will churn the water a bit, and it'll make a difference, at least a little bit of a difference, taking some of the heavy metals out of the
But then you're
water.
proposing to actually put all the plants adjacent to where it's dumped. You know, it's like having a nurse next to somebody being killed.
Yeah, and I mean, another option, it'll be a little more expensive to set up, but you could set up a greenhouse and run the effluent through the greenhouse and touching all the roots and then out into the river. It'd be a slightly more expensive.
The solution is to eliminate the pollution. That's the effluent, because there's no way. What you're proposing is something that will be after eliminating that. How do we clean it? How do we clean the river? Which is very important. I mean, it's not a bad solution, but I don't think it would be practical because of the depth, and I only will take care of surface water. In most of hydroponic cultivation that it takes place in the world, the roots are actually passed through a right amount of water with the nutrients. So that's all they do. Below that, there's no absorption. The metals will not rise, and the plants do not have the suction capacity to actually lift the metals from the bottom of the river. So that is but a lot of work you guys did. Thank you.
Just one more. What is the connection between the University of Illinois and the Technical Institute of Madrid? Okay. Okay.
He's from Spain. He grew up in Spain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This question, and this to the two Spaniards, does have nothing to do with the presentation, and I already scored. So, which team do you support, Atletico or Real?
Better answer, right?
Or you support another team?
I support Zaragoza because I'm from Zaragoza.
You support?
Zaragoza.
Oh,
Real
Zaragoza.
Second division.
And I support Real Sporting because I'm from Asturias.
I'm glad to hear
Third
that.
division.
I'm glad to hear that because I support Barca. I hate Real Madrid. Okay.
It was a good thing that the report was already scored.
Believe me, it was.
Thank you to the Illinois team.